The large courtroom on Luna Station buzzed with quiet voices. People filled every seat, and camera crews set up their equipment along the walls. This was not just any trial. Dr. Rajesh Patel sat at the defense table, his hands folded calmly in front of him. He looked tired but determined. Judge Elizabeth Barrett walked into the room wearing her black robes. Everyone stood up as she took her place behind the high wooden desk. She was known across the solar system as one of the toughest judges in the federal court system. Her gray hair was pulled back tightly, and her sharp blue eyes missed nothing. "Please, be seated," Judge Barrett said in a clear voice. The courtroom settled down quickly. She looked at the papers in front of her, then at Dr. Patel. "We are here today for the case of the Terran government versus Dr. Rajesh Patel. The defendant is charged with stealing classified information and sharing it with unauthorized persons." Lisa Murphy, Dr. Patel's lawyer, stood up. She was younger than most attorneys who handled such big cases, but she had already made a name for herself defending people who spoke out against the government. Her brown hair fell to her shoulders and she wore a simple blue suit. Across from her sat prosecutor Jake Collins. He was a tall man with short black hair and a serious face. He worked for the Terran government and had won many important cases. Today he looked confident as he arranged his files on the table. "The prosecution may begin," Judge Barrett announced. Jake Collins stood up and walked toward the jury. 12 people from different colonies in Earth sat in the jury box. They would decide if Dr. Patel was guilty or innocent. "Ladies and gentlemen of the jury," Collins began. "Dr. Rajesh Patel was trusted with some of our most important secrets. He worked on projects that keep all of humanity safe. But instead of protecting these secrets, he stole them. He took classified documents about how we communicate with alien species and shared them with people who want to harm our government." Collins turned and pointed at Dr. Patel. "The evidence will show that Dr. Patel sent coded messages to rebel groups in the outer colonies. These rebels want to break away from Earth's government. They want to start their own wars and make their own rules. Dr. Patel gave them the information they needed to do this." The prosecutor walked back to his table and picked up a thick folder. "We have records of Dr. Patel's communications. We have proof that he accessed files he was not supposed to see. We have witnesses who will tell you exactly what he did and when he did it." Collins looked at each jury member. "Dr. Patel betrayed all of humanity. He put every man, woman, and child in danger by sharing secrets that were meant to protect us. The evidence is clear, and I ask you to find him guilty of all charges." The prosecutor sat down. Judge Barrett nodded to Lisa Murphy. "The defense may present their opening statement." Lisa Murphy stood up slowly. She looked at the jury with sad eyes. "Dr. Rajesh Patel is not a traitor," she said quietly. "He is a hero. But to understand why, you need to know the truth about what he discovered." She walked closer to the jury box. "Dr. Patel worked for 20 years trying to help humanity reach the stars. He believed in our future. He believed that humans should be free to explore and build new homes among the stars. But someone was stopping us. Someone was working against humanity's growth and freedom." Murphy turned to look at Dr. Patel, who nodded slightly. "My client found evidence of a conspiracy. Not a small conspiracy, but something huge. Something that goes to the very top of our government. He found proof that some of our own leaders are working against us." The courtroom became very quiet. People leaned forward to hear better. Murphy continued. "Dr. Patel tried to report what he found through proper channels. He went to his supervisors. He went to government investigators. But nothing happened. In fact, things got worse. His research was blocked. His communications were cut off. Someone was trying to silence him." She walked back toward her table. "So Dr. Patel did what any good person would do. He made sure the truth got out. He shared his evidence with people he trusted, people who could help expose this conspiracy. And for this, the government wants to send him to prison for the rest of his life." Murphy sat down next to Dr. Patel and whispered something in his ear. He nodded again. Judge Barrett looked at both lawyers. "The prosecution may call their first witness." Jake Collins stood up. "The prosecution calls Agent Maria Santos to the stand." A woman in a dark suit walked to the front of the courtroom. She had short black hair and serious brown eyes. She placed her hand on a small device and promised to tell the truth. "Agent Santos," Collins began, "please tell the court what you do for work." "I am a special agent with the Federal Bureau of Investigation. I work in the Cybersecurity Division. My job is to catch people who steal government secrets using computers." "Did you investigate Dr. Patel's computer activities?" "Yes, I did. Over a period of 6 months, I tracked his access to classified databases. Dr. Patel used his security clearance to view files that were not related to his assigned projects." Collins showed her some papers. "Are these the files he accessed?" Agent Santos looked at the papers. "Yes, these are communication protocols for first contact with alien species. Dr. Patel had no reason to access these files. His work was supposed to be limited to deep space radio systems. What did Dr. Patel do with these files?" "He copied them to a secure drive. Then he used encrypted communication channels to send the information to contacts in the outer colonies." "Lisa." Murphy stood up. "Objection. Agent Santos cannot know what was actually sent without decrypting the messages." "Sustained," Judge Barrett said. "Agent Santos, please stick to what you actually observed." Collins nodded. "Agent Santos, did Dr. Patel's actions violate federal law?" "Yes. Accessing classified information without proper authorization is a federal crime. Sharing that information with unauthorized persons is an even more serious crime." "Thank you. No further questions." Lisa Murphy stood up for cross-examination. "Agent Santos, in your investigation, did you find any evidence that Dr. Patel received money for sharing this information?" "No, we found no evidence of payment." "Did you find evidence that he was working for a foreign government or enemy organization?" "No, we did not." "So Dr. Patel was not spying for money or for enemies of humanity?" "That is correct." Murphy walked closer to the witness. "Agent Santos, did your investigation look into why Dr. Patel accessed these files?" "We determined his motives were not relevant to the charges." "But you never actually investigated what he was trying to expose?" Agent Santos hesitated. "That was not part of our assignment." "Thank you. No further questions." Judge Barrett looked at the clock on the wall. It was getting late in the day. "We will recess until tomorrow morning. Dr. Patel, you are reminded that you are still under oath and should not discuss this case with anyone except your attorney." As people began to leave the courtroom, Dr. Patel turned to Lisa Murphy. "Tomorrow we tell them the truth," he said quietly. "Are you ready for that?" Murphy asked. Dr. Patel looked around the courtroom, then at the judge who was gathering her papers. "The truth is all we have left," he replied. The next morning, the courtroom filled up even faster than before. News reports about the trial had spread across all the colonies during the night. People wanted to know what Dr. Patel would say when he took the stand. Judge Barrett entered the courtroom at exactly 9 o'clock. Everyone stood up as she walked to her seat. She looked around the room with her sharp eyes, noticing the extra security guards and the news crews that had multiplied overnight. "Please be seated," she said firmly. "Before we continue, I want to remind everyone that this is a court of law. Any disruptions will result in removal from this courtroom." Lisa Murphy stood up. "Your Honor, the defense would like to call Dr. Rajesh Patel to the stand." Dr. Patel walked slowly to the witness chair. He was a thin man in his 50s with graying hair and kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. He placed his hand on the truth device and promised to tell only the truth. "Dr. Patel," Murphy began, "please tell the court about your work with the Terran Space Communication Project." "I have worked on deep space communications for 20 years, Dr. Patel said in a clear voice. "My job was to design systems that could send messages across the galaxy. We were preparing for the day when humans would travel to distant star systems. During your work, did you discover anything unusual?" Dr. Patel looked at the jury. "About 2 years ago, I noticed that some of my research was being blocked. Projects that should have moved forward were suddenly stopped. Equipment I ordered never arrived. Other scientists who worked with me were transferred to different departments. What did you think was happening?" "At first, I thought it was just normal government delays. But then I started looking deeper. I found that someone was deliberately slowing down humanity's space exploration programs. Prosecutor Collins stood up. Objection. Dr. Patel is making conclusions without evidence. Sustained, Judge Barrett said. Dr. Patel, please stick to facts you can prove. Dr. Patel nodded. I decided to investigate who was blocking our work. I used my security clearance to look at communication records and project files. What I found scared me. Murphy walked closer to her client. What did you find? I found a pattern. Every time we made progress on deep space exploration, someone in the government would create new rules or cut our funding. It always came from the same group of officials. Did you report your concerns? Yes. I wrote reports to my supervisors. I sent messages to the Inspector General's office. I even tried to contact the Colonial Affairs Committee. But nothing happened. In fact, the interference got worse after I started asking questions. Judge Barrett leaned forward. Dr. Patel, the prosecution says you stole classified files. How do you respond to that charge? Dr. Patel took a deep breath. Your Honor, I accessed files that I thought would help me understand who was working against humanity's future. I was trying to protect all of us. That is not an answer, Judge Barrett said sternly. Did you or did you not access files without proper authorization? I did access files that were not part of my normal work, Dr. Patel admitted. But what I found in those files changes everything. Murphy picked up a folder from her table. Your Honor, at this time the defense would like to present evidence that explains Dr. Patel's actions. Collins jumped up. Objection, any classified material cannot be presented in open court. Murphy held up a document. This material was legally declassified 3 months ago through a Freedom of Information Act request filed by my client. Judge Barrett looked suspicious. Let me see this document. Murphy handed the paper to the court clerk, who gave it to the judge. Judge Barrett read it carefully. Her face changed as she read. The color drained from her cheeks, and her hands began to shake slightly. Dr. Patel, Judge Barrett said in a quiet voice, where did you get this document? It came from the Terran Defense Council archives. When I filed my Freedom of Information request, this was one of the documents they were required to release. Murphy turned to face the courtroom. Your Honor, this document is a memo from the Terran Defense Council dated 15 years ago. It lists government officials who were suspected of being compromised by alien intelligence networks. The courtroom erupted. People began talking loudly. Reporters started typing frantically on their devices. Judge Barrett banged her gavel hard. Order. Order in this court, she shouted. If there are any more outbursts, I will clear this courtroom. The room became quiet again, but everyone was leaning forward, trying to hear every word. Dr. Patel looked directly at Judge Barrett. Your Honor, your name is on that list. The silence in the courtroom was complete. Judge Barrett stared at Dr. Patel, her mouth slightly open. For the first time in her long career, she seemed to have no words. That is impossible, she finally said. Murphy walked to the center of the courtroom. The memo lists Elizabeth Barrett, Federal Judiciary, as requiring priority alpha surveillance. According to this document, investigators believed that certain government officials were showing behavior patterns consistent with alien mental conditioning. Collins stood up quickly. Your Honor, this is clearly a fabricated document designed to disrupt these proceedings. I demand that it be excluded from evidence. The document has proper declassification markings, Murphy replied. It passed through official channels and was verified by the National Archives. Judge Barrett held up her hand for silence. Dr. Patel, are you telling this court that you believe I am under alien influence? Your Honor, I am telling you what the document says. According to this memo, something called Operation Silent Mirror was investigating alien infiltration of our government. The investigators believed that an alien species was replacing or controlling key human officials to prevent our expansion into space. This is ridiculous, Collins said. Aliens have never been proven to exist. Dr. Patel turned to look at the prosecutor. Mr. Collins, your name is also on this list. Collins sat down hard in his chair, his face turning pale. Murphy continued, reading from the memo. Operation Silent Mirror was established after deep space exploration teams reported encounters with technologically advanced alien beings. These aliens, referred to as the architects, appeared to be studying human government and social structures. Judge Barrett found her voice again. Even if this document is real, it proves nothing. Being on a list of people under investigation does not mean the investigations found anything. That is true, Your Honor, Dr. Patel said. But it explains why my research was being blocked. It explains why no one would listen when I reported problems. Some of the people I was reporting to were the same people listed in this memo. Murphy walked back to her table and picked up another folder. Your Honor, we have additional evidence. Dr. Kevin Wright, who worked with Dr. Patel on the space communication project, is prepared to testify about strange interference patterns they discovered in their work. These interference patterns, Dr. Patel added, only made sense if someone was deliberately jamming our communications with the outer colonies, someone who did not want Earth and the colonies to coordinate their space exploration efforts. Judge Barrett looked at the memo again. Her hands were steadier now, but her voice was still shaky. Dr. Patel, if what you are suggesting is true, then this trial is not about whether you stole classified information. No, Your Honor. This trial is about whether humanity has the right to know that our own government may have been compromised by beings who want to keep us trapped in our own solar system. The courtroom was completely silent. Everyone was staring at Judge Barrett, waiting to see what she would do next. She looked at Dr. Patel, then at the memo, then at the packed courtroom full of people from across the solar system. This court will recess for 2 hours, she said quietly. I need time to review this evidence and decide how to proceed. As Judge Barrett left the courtroom, Dr. Patel turned to his lawyer. Now they know, he said simply. The question is, Murphy replied, what will they do about it? 2 hours later, Judge Barrett returned to the courtroom. She looked tired and worried, but her voice was steady when she spoke. This court is back in session, she announced. After reviewing the evidence presented by the defense, I have decided that we must hear all testimony related to Operation Silent Mirror before proceeding with the original charges against Dr. Patel. She looked directly at Dr. Patel. Dr. Patel, I am ordering a full investigation into the claims made in this declassified memo. Until that investigation is complete, you will remain free on bail. Prosecutor Collins stood up quickly. Your Honor, I object to this delay. The charges against Dr. Patel are clear and simple. He stole classified information. We should not allow conspiracy theories to distract from the facts. Mr. Collins, Judge Barrett said coldly, your name is also on that list. I think it would be appropriate if another prosecutor handled this case from now on. Collins' face turned red. Your Honor, I have served the Terran government faithfully for 15 years. I will not be removed from this case based on a piece of paper that could have been written by anyone. The document has been verified by the National Archives, Judge Barrett replied. A new prosecutor will be assigned within 24 hours. You are dismissed from this case. Collins gathered his papers angrily and left the courtroom. The reporters in the room typed frantically on their devices, sending the news across the solar system. Lisa Murphy stood up. Your Honor, the defense would like to call Agent Maria Santos back to the stand. Agent Santos returned to the witness chair. She looked nervous now, not confident like the day before. Agent Santos, Murphy began, yesterday you testified about Dr. Patel's computer activities. During your investigation, did you find any evidence that supported his claims about a conspiracy? I was only assigned to track his file access, Santos replied carefully. I was not asked to investigate the content of those files or the reasons he accessed them, but you must have seen some of the files he accessed. Did any of them mention Operation Silent Mirror? Santos hesitated. I saw references to something called Silent Mirror, but I was told those references were not relevant to my investigation. Who told you that? My supervisor, Agent Robert Hayes. Murphy walked closer to the witness stand. Agent Santos, is Agent Hayes' name on the declassified memo we discussed earlier? Santos was quiet for a long moment. I would need to check the document again. Judge Barrett handed the memo to the court clerk, who gave it to Agent Santos. She read through it slowly, her face growing pale. Yes, she said quietly. Agent Hayes is listed here as being under priority surveillance. So your supervisor, who told you not to investigate Dr. Patel's motives, was himself suspected of being compromised by alien influence. According to this document, yes. Murphy nodded. Agent Santos, I want you to think carefully. During your investigation of Dr. Patel, did anyone try to limit what you could look at or who you could talk to? Agent Santos was quiet for a long time. Yes, she finally said. Agent Hayes gave me a very specific list of files to examine. When I asked if I could look at related files, he said no. He also gave me a list of people I was not allowed to interview. Did that seem unusual to you? At the time, I thought he was just trying to keep the investigation focused. But now? She stopped talking and looked around the courtroom. Now what, Agent Santos? Now I realize that every person on my do not interview list was someone who might have supported Dr. Patel's story. Murphy turned to face the jury. Agent Santos, based on what you know now, do you think Dr. Patel was trying to expose a real conspiracy? I think it is possible, Santos replied. The courtroom began to buzz with quiet conversations. Judge Barrett banged her gavel once to restore order. The defense calls Dr. Kevin Wright, Murphy announced. A tall man with sandy hair and a beard walked to the front of the courtroom. He was wearing a simple brown suit and looked uncomfortable in the formal setting. Dr. Wright, Murphy said, please tell the court about your work with Dr. Patel. I worked with Dr. Patel on the Deep Space Communication Project for 8 years, Wright replied. We were developing ways to send messages between Earth and the outer colonies quickly and securely. During your work, did you notice anything unusual? Dr. Wright nodded. About 3 years ago, we started detecting strange interference patterns in our communications. At first, we thought it was natural space phenomena, but the patterns were too regular, too organized. What did these patterns look like? They looked like someone was jamming our signals on purpose, but the jamming was very sophisticated. It would only interfere with certain types of messages, particularly ones that dealt with colony expansion plans or new exploration missions. Murphy showed him some papers. Are these the interference reports you filed? Yes. We filed reports every month for over a year. We asked for permission to investigate the source of the interference, but our requests were always denied. Who denied? Your requests? The requests went through the Colonial Communication Authority. The denial letters were signed by Director General Henry Clark. Murphy held up the declassified memo again. Dr. Wright, is General Clark's name on this list? Dr. Wright looked at the memo. Yes, he is listed as requiring priority surveillance. So the person who prevented you from investigating the interference was himself suspected of being under alien influence? According to this document, yes. Dr. Wright continued his testimony. Dr. Patel and I began to think that someone was deliberately trying to limit communication between Earth and the colonies. We started keeping our own records and doing our own investigations in secret. What did you find? We found that the interference always increased before major colony expansion votes in the Terran Council. It was like someone wanted to make sure Earth and the colonies could not coordinate their plans. Murphy walked back to her table. Dr. Wright, in your opinion as a scientist, could these interference patterns have been created by alien technology? Their patterns were far more advanced than anything humans had developed at that time. They required knowledge of quantum communication principles that we were just beginning to understand. So it is possible that aliens were jamming human communications. It is not only possible, Dr. Wright said firmly. It is the most logical explanation for what we observed. Judge Barrett leaned forward. Dr. Wright, did you and Dr. Patel share your findings with anyone? We tried to report our discoveries through official channels, but our reports were either ignored or buried. That is when Dr. Patel decided to contact people in the outer colonies directly. And that is when he was accused of sharing classified information? Yes, Your Honor. Dr. Patel was trying to warn the colonies that their communications were being monitored and jammed by unknown forces. Murphy addressed the court. Your Honor, the defense would like to call one more witness. Captain, Paul Johnson is currently commanding a defense station in the outer colonies. He is prepared to testify via secure video link about what the colonies have discovered regarding alien interference. Judge Barrett looked at the clock on the wall. It is getting late. We will hear from Captain Johnson first thing tomorrow morning. Oh, people began to leave the courtroom. Agent Santos approached Lisa Murphy. Ms. Murphy, she said quietly, I think you should know something. After Dr. Patel was arrested, Agent Hayes ordered me to destroy all my original investigation notes. He said they were no longer needed. Did you destroy them? Murphy asked. Agent Santos looked around to make sure no one was listening. No. I kept copies. I thought it was strange that he wanted them destroyed when the case was still going to trial. Murphy felt a chill run down her spine. Agent Santos, I think you should be very careful. If this conspiracy is real, then people who know too much might be in danger. Santos nodded grimly. I have already requested a transfer to Mars Colony. I leave next week. As the courtroom emptied, Dr. Patel sat quietly with his lawyer. Lisa, he said, I think we are getting close to the truth, but I am worried about what will happen when we find it. What do you mean? Murphy asked. If aliens really have been controlling parts of our government for years, they will not just give up and go away. They will fight back. Outside the courthouse, news reporters were broadcasting live updates to colonies across the solar system. The story was no longer just about one man accused of stealing secrets. It had become something much bigger and much more dangerous. On Mars Colony, Captain Johnson was preparing his testimony for the next day. He looked at the evidence files spread across his desk and shook his head. They have no idea how bad this really is, he said to himself. The next morning, the courtroom was packed tighter than ever before. News of the alien conspiracy had spread to every corner of human space. People traveled from distant colonies just to hear what Captain Johnson would say. Judge Barrett entered, the courtroom looking more determined than worried. She had spent the night reading classified files that had been delivered to her chambers by military courier. This court is now in session, she announced. Before we hear from Captain Johnson, I have an announcement to make. Last night I underwent voluntary scanning using detection equipment brought from Mars Colony. The courtroom became completely silent. Judge Barrett held up a small device that looked like a medical scanner. The results show that I have not been subjected to alien mental conditioning, she said clearly. However, the scans did reveal that I have been under electronic surveillance for the past 3 years. Someone has been monitoring my communications and court decisions. She looked around the courtroom with anger in her eyes. I want everyone to understand that this court will not be intimidated by anyone or anything. We will find the truth, no matter where it leads us. Lisa Murphy stood up. Your Honor, the defense calls Captain Paul Johnson via secure video link. A large screen descended from the ceiling. After a few moments, the image of a man in a blue military uniform appeared. He was sitting in what looked like a command center, with other people working at computers behind him. Captain Johnson, Murphy began, please tell the court where you are and what you do. I am currently aboard Defense Station Bravo, located in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. I command the Colonial Defense Force's Deep Space Monitoring Division. What does your division monitor? Captain Johnson looked directly into the camera. We watch for threats to human colonies. About 5 years ago, we started detecting activities that we could not explain. What kind of activities? Ships that did not match any human design, energy signatures that were far beyond our technology, and most importantly, organized attempts to interfere with human expansion into new star systems. Murphy walked closer to the screen. Captain Johnson, have you had direct contact with alien beings? Yes, we have. 3 years ago, one of our patrol ships encountered a vessel of unknown origin. The aliens called themselves the Architects. They told our crew that humans were expanding too quickly and needed to slow down. The courtroom erupted in surprised voices. Judge Barrett banged her gavel hard. Order. Captain Johnson, please continue. The architects explained that they had been watching human development for decades. They said that humans were unpredictable and dangerous. They wanted us to stay within our current territory while they decided what to do with us. How did your crew respond? Captain Johnson smiled grimly. They told the architects that humans do not take orders from anyone. The alien ship left, but we knew they would be back. Murphy held up some papers. Captain Johnson, did the Colonial Defense Force develop any countermeasures against alien interference? Yes, we did. Working with scientists from 12 different colonies, we created detection systems that can identify alien technology and mental conditioning. We also developed communication methods that the architects cannot jam or monitor. Why did you not share this technology with Earth's government? Captain Johnson paused for a moment. We tried to, but every time we sent reports to Earth, they disappeared into government bureaucracy. Our requests for meetings were denied. Our technology proposals were rejected without explanation. So the colonies developed these defenses independently? We had to. It became clear that we could not rely on Earth's government to protect us. We formed our own defense networks and started sharing information directly between colonies. Judge Barrett leaned forward. Captain Johnson, are you saying that the outer colonies have been fighting an alien threat without Earth's knowledge? Not exactly, Your Honor. We have been defending against alien interference while parts of Earth's government have been helping the aliens. The courtroom fell silent again. This was the most direct accusation yet. Murphy continued her questioning. Captain Johnson, what evidence do you have that Earth officials have been helping the aliens? We have intercepted communications between government officials and unknown sources. These communications always precede increased alien interference with colony activities. We also have records showing that expansion projects approved by clean officials are later blocked by officials on your memo list. Have you shared this evidence with anyone on Earth? We shared it with Dr. Patel 6 months ago. He was one of the few Earth scientists who was not under surveillance. We asked him to help expose the conspiracy from within the government. Dr. Patel stood up at his table. Your Honor, that is when I began accessing the classified files. I was trying to verify what Captain Johnson had told me. Judge Barrett looked at both men. Dr. Patel, why did you not simply present this evidence to the court immediately? Because I needed proof that would hold up in a legal proceeding. Captain Johnson's word alone would not have been enough. I needed official government documents that confirmed the conspiracy. Captain Johnson spoke from the screen. Your Honor, there is something else you need to know. The colonies have discovered that the architects made a serious mistake in their planning. What kind of mistake? Judge Barrett asked. They underestimated human adaptability. The architects studied human government and society for decades, but they based their understanding on old patterns. They expected humans to react predictably to pressure and control. Murphy walked back toward the screen. What do you mean? The architects thought that by controlling Earth's government and limiting communication with the colonies, they could slowly contain human expansion. But instead of making us weaker, their interference made us stronger. Captain Johnson gestured to the people working behind him. Each colony developed its own solutions to the problems the architects created. When they jammed our communications, we invented new ways to send messages. When they tried to limit our technology, we found new ways to innovate. So humanity adapted to the alien threat? More than that, we thrived because of it. The colonies that were cut off from Earth's bureaucracy became more creative and independent. We developed technologies that even the architects did not expect. Judge Barrett asked, Captain Johnson, what is the current status of the alien threat? The architects are retreating, Your Honor. Our new detection systems have made it impossible for them to operate secretly. Our communication networks allow all human settlements to coordinate defenses. And most importantly, we have learned to work together without relying on any central authority that could be compromised. Dr. Wright, who was still in the courtroom, stood up. Your Honor, may I add something? Go ahead, Dr. Wright. The interference patterns that Dr. Patel and I detected have decreased by 90% over the past year. As the colonies developed countermeasures, The aliens found it harder and harder to jam our communications. Captain Johnson nodded from the screen. That is correct. The architects succeeded in infiltrating parts of Earth's government, but they failed to understand that humanity's greatest strength is not our government. It is our refusal to give up when faced with impossible odds. Murphy addressed the court. Your Honor, this testimony shows that Dr. Patel was not betraying humanity. He was helping to save it. Judge Barrett looked at the memo on her desk, then at Dr. Patel, then at the image of Captain Johnson on the screen. Captain Johnson, what would have happened if Dr. Patel had not exposed this conspiracy? The architects would have continued to control Earth's government, while the colonies drifted further away from Earth. Eventually, humanity would have been divided and weakened. The aliens would have achieved their goal of containing us without ever having to fight a direct war. And now? Captain Johnson smiled. Now humanity knows the truth. Earth and the colonies are working together again. The architects have lost their advantage of secrecy, and humans are doing what we do best. Which is what? Judge Barrett asked, refusing to accept limitations that others try to impose on us. 3 days later, Judge Barrett was ready to deliver her verdict. The courtroom was filled with people from across the solar system. Representatives from every major colony had traveled to Luna Station to hear the decision that would change humanity's future. Judge Barrett entered the courtroom wearing her black robes. She carried a thick folder containing all the evidence that had been presented during the trial. Her face was serious but calm. Please be seated, she said to the packed courtroom. Before I deliver my verdict, I want to address what this trial has revealed about the threats facing humanity. She looked directly at Dr. Patel, who sat quietly at the defense table next to Lisa Murphy. Dr. Rajesh Patel, you were charged with stealing classified information and sharing it with unauthorized persons. The prosecution claimed that you betrayed humanity by giving secrets to colony rebels. Judge Barrett paused and looked around the courtroom. However, the evidence presented during this trial tells a very different story. You did not betray humanity. You saved it. The courtroom erupted in cheers and applause. Judge Barrett allowed the celebration to continue for a few moments, before banging her gavel. The evidence shows that Dr. Patel discovered a conspiracy that threatened all of human civilization. Alien beings called the architects had infiltrated our government and were working to limit human expansion into space. Dr. Patel risked his career and his freedom to expose this threat. She held up the declassified memo that had started everything. This document proves that our own security agencies suspected alien infiltration 15 years ago. Yet instead of investigating these suspicions, compromised officials used their positions to silence anyone who asked questions. Judge Barrett looked at the empty prosecutor's table, where Jake Collins had sat just days before. The former prosecutor in this case, along with several other government officials, has been arrested pending investigation into their connections with alien agents. Emergency protocols have been activated to scan all high-level government personnel for signs of alien conditioning. She turned back to Dr. Patel. Dr. Patel, I find you not guilty of all charges. Furthermore, I commend your courage in exposing a threat that could have destroyed human freedom forever. The courtroom exploded in celebration again. People stood up and cheered. Dr. Patel closed his eyes and took a deep breath. Lisa Murphy hugged her client, tears streaming down her face. Judge Barrett waited for the noise to die down before continuing. This trial has shown us something important about humanity. When faced with an enemy that tried to control us through deception and infiltration, we adapted. We found new ways to communicate, new ways to detect threats, and new ways to work together. She gestured toward the video screen where Captain Johnson was still connected from his space station. The outer colonies developed technologies and defenses that even our alien enemies did not expect. They proved that human creativity and determination cannot be contained by anyone or anything. Captain Johnson's voice came through the speakers. Your Honor, I have an update on the current situation. Our long-range scanners show that the architect ships are withdrawing from human space. They appear to be retreating to areas beyond our current exploration range. Why are they retreating? Judge Barrett asked. Because their strategy failed completely. They thought they could control humanity by controlling our government. But they did not understand that humans are strongest when we work together freely. Once the colonies started sharing information and technology without government interference, we became too strong for them to handle. Dr. Wright, who had been sitting in the gallery, stood up. Your Honor, may I address the court? Go ahead. Dr. Wright, I have been in contact with scientists from all 12 major colonies. We have formed a new organization called the Human Defense Research Network. Our goal is to develop technologies that will protect humanity from any future alien interference. And, what have you discovered so far? Dr. Wright smiled. We have learned that human minds work differently than the architects expected. They could condition individual humans, but they could not predict how humans would respond as a group. When they tried to limit us, we found ways around their limitations. When they tried to divide us, we found new ways to unite. Judge Barrett nodded. Dr. Patel, what are your plans now that these charges have been dismissed? Dr. Patel stood up slowly. Your Honor, I have been offered a position as the first director of xenological security for the new Terran Council. My job will be to make sure that no alien species ever again infiltrates our government without our knowledge. The new Terran Council? Captain Johnson answered from the screen. Your Honor, representatives from Earth and all the colonies are meeting next week to form a new government structure. This new council will include equal representation from Earth and the colonies, with built-in safeguards against infiltration. What kind of safeguards? All council members will undergo regular scanning for alien conditioning. All major decisions will require approval from multiple independent groups. And most importantly, no single person or organization will have enough power to block humanity's expansion into space. Judge Barrett looked pleased. It sounds like humanity is learning from this experience. Dr. Patel spoke up. Your Honor, we have learned something important about ourselves. The architects thought that humans were dangerous because we expand rapidly and unpredictably. They were right about that, but they misunderstood what it means. What do you mean? They saw our expansion as a threat to be contained. But our expansion is not about conquest or domination. It is about freedom. Humans spread across the galaxy because we refuse to be limited by anyone, including ourselves. Lisa Murphy stood up next to her client. Your Honor, Dr. Patel has shown us that sometimes the most patriotic thing you can do is question your own government. He risked everything to expose the truth, and because of his courage, humanity is now stronger than ever. Judge Barrett picked up her gavel for the final time in this historic trial. This court is adjourned. Dr. Patel, you are free to go. And on behalf of all humanity, thank you for your service. As people began to leave the courtroom, Dr. Patel remained seated for a moment, looking around at the place where everything had changed. Agent Santos approached him. Dr. Patel, I wanted to apologize for my part in investigating you. I was just following orders, but I should have asked more questions. Agent Santos, you helped expose the truth when it mattered most. That is all anyone can ask. Outside the courthouse, news reporters were broadcasting live to colonies across human space. The story was no longer about one man accused of stealing secrets. It had become the story of how humanity discovered its greatest strength. Captain Johnson's final transmission came through clearly to all the colonies. Today, humanity proved something important. We proved that no one can limit us except ourselves. The architects learned too late that trying to contain humanity only makes us more determined to be free. 3 months later, the first ships launched from the new Joint Earth Colony space program. They carried colonists to star systems far beyond anything humans had previously explored. The ships were equipped with the most advanced detection and communication systems ever built, developed through cooperation between Earth and colony scientists. Dr. Patel stood in the observation deck of Luna Station, watching the ships disappear into the darkness of space. Next to him stood Captain Johnson, who had come to Earth for the launch ceremony. Do you think the architects will try again? Johnson asked. Dr. Patel smiled. They might. But if they do, they will find that humanity has learned something important from this experience. What is that? We learned that our greatest strength is not our technology or our government. Our greatest strength is our refusal to accept that anyone else can decide our limits for us. The ships continued their journey toward distant stars, carrying humans who would build new homes and new lives among the galaxies. Behind them, Earth and the colonies worked together as never before, united by the knowledge that freedom was something worth fighting for. The architects had tried to contain humanity and failed. In trying to limit human expansion, they had only made humanity more determined to reach for the stars.